is status of the chain restaurant business. What we're going to be talking about today is looking at what's happening with the chain restaurant business in terms of a number of different issues, some developments, and what we expect for the next 12 to 18 months. My name is Joe Pollack. I'm a Senior Vice President with Technomic. I've been with Technomic for over 24 years. Been studying the chain restaurant and restaurant business over that time period, and hopefully we'll be able to impart some knowledge to you today about what's been going on with this critical portion of the food service business. And in terms of objectives today, we'll be looking at recent events, recent results that have come out recently, talk about the dynamics of the business, what's changing, look at some of the deal activity that's been going on. There's a lot of M&A activity. And then probably most importantly for most of you today is talk about the outlook for the chain business going forward. Let's first look at performance overall from a same-store sales perspective when we look at chains. If you look at the overall restaurant industry or the chain industry, you see in the first quarter of this year, on the same-store sales basis, the industry is up 0.6%, second quarter up 1.5%. If you remember, in the first quarter of this year, we had significant weather issues in about 2/3 of the country, whether it be snow, cold weather, or ice, which dramatically dampened traffic and sales within restaurants overall, and now that was alleviated in the second quarter quite a bit, as you see the jump up. You see all sectors of the industry were impacted. If we look at the sector that's doing the best, you see that FC, which is fast casual. First quarter, despite those weather problems, it still performed very strongly at 4.1%, and then 5.1% in the second quarter. Those sectors that were weaker, you look at casual dining restaurants, declined in the first quarter, but did show some increase in same-store sales in the in the second quarter. And then quick service restaurants up 0.5%, up to 1.4% in the second quarter. And interestingly, mid-scale restaurants that check average between $8 and $12 in a sit-down restaurant service system, limited alcohol. When you think about people like Denny's and IHOP, they showed some very, I would call, modest growth, which has been atypical for this segment over the past couple of years, up 1.5% in the first quarter, and second quarter 2.2%. If you look at casual dining restaurants and the mid-scale restaurants, when we look at our data overall, we're seeing that independents are outpacing chains. There's a lot of different dynamics that are coming into play. Some of this is that consumers are saying that the independents specialize much better than the chains. There's a lot of ubiquity among the chains in terms of offerings. They also talk about the local nature of chains and be wanting to support local economies, local nature of the independents and wanting to support local businesses, local sourcing, and all those different things we hear from sustainability are playing out much stronger with independents than chains, and some of the numbers that we're seeing are showing that independents are doing better than the chain business. Now, if we look at some individual players here, you look at people like Wendy's on a same-store sales growth basis, second quarter up 3.9%. They've done a lot with new product development, and those numbers continue to show very positive growth. You look at Papa John's, they're tie-in with NFL football, and their better ingredients, better pizza mantra is really sticking very strongly with consumers. And in Taco Bell, down in the first quarter, a bit hurt by weather, but in the second quarter had recovered. Again, 2.2%. Again, they do a lot from an LTO standpoint, and again, that's helping their same-store sales show positively. You look at casual dining players. This is where we're seeing some downward trends. We see Applebee's in the second quarter up versus the 2 quarters previously down, 0.7%, 0.5%. With many of these traditional casual dining chains, whether it be Applebee's, Olive Garden, or any of the other traditional players, this sector has been struggling over the past 5 to 6 years. As again, as I mentioned before, a lot of ubiquity, not much differentiation. Some consumers are just becoming tired of this sector. So, you know, they're struggling to make themselves different, make themselves relevant to the new customer base that's emerging. One player that's doing relatively well is Buffalo Wild Wings. It's kind of bucking that trend overall. And it plays out in their same-store sales up 6.5% in the second quarter. A lot of that growth is coming from, they report from the World Cup in the second quarter that it began in the second quarter. They're seeing same-store sales growth where many fans are going to their restaurants to enjoy a meal as well as watch World Cup on one of their TVs. So, you know, their mixture of entertainment as well as food appears to be a very solid formula for success in this sector. Fast casual. You know, everybody talks about fast casual, and then you can kind of see what's happening in this sector. Very positive growth numbers. You look at Chipotle, continues to show double-digit, very strong double-digit same-store sales numbers. Same thing with Qdoba, very strong numbers as well. Panera Bread, positive, not as strong, but continues, given the size of that chain, continues to show same-store sales growth that are positive. Again, fast casual is definitely driving a lot of the trends that are occurring in this market. And you know, regardless of whether you're a high flyer like Chipotle or Panera Bread, that's a very stable organization, keeps adding units. You're going to see a lot of same-store sales growth among the different players. Now, if you're looking at the industry dynamics, what's happening from a chain perspective, a lot of refranchising, it's accelerating. Many of the companies are selling their company-owned units and turning them into franchisees. They don't want to operate these units. They'd rather be centralized support for franchisees, whether it be from a menu development standpoint, operationally. You know, they don't want to operate units. They want to be kind of the support structure for the entire chain. So there's been a lot of refranchising. Higher costs from a commodity standpoint is a big issue. Higher labor costs are also becoming a big issue, especially when we start seeing local municipalities and counties and states looking to increase minimum wage. Talked about independents are improving their position from a differentiation standpoint. Perceive better quality, that local orientation that's hitting home with consumers. Slowing unit growth with many chains now focusing more on improving same-store sales and adding a number of units to their chain as a way of growing their business. And what we're seeing is that fast casual is dictating the trends today in the overall chain business. Whether you're in mid-scale, whether you're in quick service, or casual dining, it really is fast casual that's dictating what's happening in those segments. And you can see here that whether you're quick service, casual dining, mid-scale, they're all chasing fast casual. And you know what fast casual is doing and why they resonate with consumers today is that it's all about authenticity or perceived authenticity of what they're offering. It's about freshness or the perceived freshness of the food that's being prepared, whether it's prepared right in front of you or the perceived freshness of the product that comes in through the back door. They're very much in terms of menu trends or having the most popular flavors that consumers are looking for. Consumers view them as having the best quality or the highest quality foods. The service is seen as superior, even though it's not a sit-down type restaurant. The engagement that you have with the server, the one that's preparing your food, is seen as superior, that you're having that product made for you, just for you as you want it. They're seen as leaders on sustainability, and then also on value, not in the traditional sense of, you know, best quality for the best price. It's really, you know, the best quality, best experience for a fair price. And within fast casual, we all know they're not the lowest price game in town, but consumers are willing to pay more for all the experience, the better quality, all these other factors that come into play. And they see that it is worth it within these type of establishments. And all the different quick service, full service restaurant segments and chains are trying to emulate what they're doing and incorporating one or two of these different components into their operations. We're also seeing a significant amount of M&A activity occurring. If you look at the time series here, and we only have obviously 9 months of data in 2014, we're already in the restaurant food service sector. We already have 46 merger and acquisition occurrences happening versus 21 for all of last year and 33 within 2012. Now you can see some of the more notable ones. You see the Burger King and Tim Hortons combination. Now originally that was thought to be, that combination was thought to be made for tax purposes where they would reincorporate Canada. However, given the regulation change here in the United States, making it less of a tax advantage, still that merger is expected to continue and close. You see some private equity, very much private equity, getting more and more involved in seeing the value of within restaurants and restaurant brands, with TGI Fridays being acquired by Sentinel and Morgan Joseph Troy Artisan, and Red Lobster by Golden Gate, and Peter Piper and Chuck E. Cheese Entertainment by Apollo, and then Einstein Bagels by J.B. Holdings. So a lot of activity, especially when you're looking from a private equity standpoint. So again, what's driving M&A activity? We're looking at a slow growth environment. So to grow from a corporately, many operators believe that the only way to grow and get some consistently strong growth is by making acquisitions. Also, the drive for economies, combining two chains together and be able to take some of those back office redundancies out, and some of those other, whether it be purchasing, whether it be finance, whether it be other types of things that are not customer driven or face to the customer. Those are things that they can see where they can find some efficiencies and cut some costs. Also, activist investors who are demanding that performance and are demanding that chains be, whether they be spun off or chains be purchased in one way or another. Those are things that are also causing much of this M&A activity. And we're really very much in a cash-rich environment. There's a lot of cash on the sidelines today that that chains have the money to make acquisitions. Interest rates are very low, so cash is cheap. So it is an environment from being able to borrow money as well as the money that's on hand that makes it very conducive for purchases and sales of many organizations. And just to kind of give you a sense of some IPOs and ones that have already occurred, people like Papa Murphy's and El Pollo Loco as an example, and The Habit, all those have happened already this year. And then there's other ones that are expected to occur. As an example, Shake Shack, a relatively small chain, but they're looking at this point that the valuation on that chain may be over $1 billion. So again, this kind of shows you that there's still a big appetite for restaurant chains, and restaurant brands do have a fair amount of equity from a financial perspective. So what can we expect in the next 18 months? First of all, I think there's going to be a stronger focus on per unit sales growth, as I mentioned earlier. Not a lot of strong unit growth. That the growth for chains are going to come from existing units. They're going to focus on building out what they're doing within an existing chain, building what they're doing there from a menu perspective, from a service perspective, and trying to gain sales within what they're doing today, what they currently have. Technology implementation, acceleration, a lot more technology, whether it be online ordering or mobile ordering, using Apple Pay as an example, accelerating as well, new types of systems. More regionalization, where major chains, national chains, will look to become more closer to their customers and implementing more regional menu items, again, to compete more with local operators. We're going to see large chains experiment with new concepts, buying one or two smaller chains or maybe even some independents to experiment and see where that might go, whether to expand the chain itself or take some of those components that they've learned from those chains, best practices, and implement them to their current concepts. Obviously, a very strong drive for differentiation, especially within casual dining. How am I different from the next chain down the street? This is going to be what they're going to need to do to survive going forward. And then we expect chain growth over the next 18 months on an annualized basis. We're looking at growth between 3 and 3.5%. So just in terms of our next upcoming webinars, next month we'll have one on transparency and how consumers are looking for more transparency from the foods they eat, the beverages they drink. Then we'll talk a little bit about online sourcing in the following month, looking at how, as an example, how the food service operator maybe in the future be buying from people like Amazon Fresh. Then we'll talk about the cost environment in the month and change drivers and transformational trends in the future times. An executive summary of this presentation will be available on the Technomic and IFTA websites. Thank you very much for your time this morning. We appreciate your time, and thank you for your support of both IFTA and Technomic and the Technomic Talks webinar series.